All right, and we're live.
All right.
So welcome everyone to Coffee Chat with CASASC. I'm glad you can join us this afternoon. This is our first afternoon coffee chat, so I'm really excited about it. Please feel free to comment down below, give us a wave, say hello, and we'll try to wave back and get back to your questions as well, too.
Waving back.
So, first I want to drop in a line about BYOM, so bring your own mug. We're still doing this and going strong. This is my mug today. It's like a ceramic cat. I don't know if you could see it.
I find it terrifying.
It is kind of made out of pottery, and it's kind of like an ugly mug, but kind of artsy at the same time. And I don't really like cats, so that's why I selected this. And Mark is going to show us what mug he
I'm quite
has.
proud of this mug, actually, because this is the Goonies Fiend Club. And I took my family 4 hours out of the way on a trip to get this mug. Because when I was little, I thought I should be one of the Goonies. And so I really thought that I was one. So when the opportunity came, we went to Seattle. I thought the house where the Goonies is kind of on the way back to Vancouver. So we went way out of our way along the coast just to be able to go to the Goonies house, which you're not allowed to go all the way up to, or you're trespassing. And I thought about it. I thought it might be worth the ticket, the trespassing ticket to get to the Goonies house. And my wife did not agree on that. But I was able to go to the Goonies store after seeing this house, and then you can go to the different locations that the Goonies are filmed, and so now I'm officially a Goonie.
A Goonie?
I think so. I feel like I am. I
You're
act
one
a
of
little
them.
bit like I am. Yeah, I feel like it. So that's my cup. It's my Goonies cup. No, you can't have it. You don't get it. I'm not sharing it.
You just get to admire it
it's
from
my
afar.
cup. No, no one gets it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so BYOM, so hopefully this afternoon you can do a cheers with us with coffee, tea, or another beverage, up to you.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah.
So, realized I gotta introduce my guest here. So
Yes.
this is Mark Valentine, and he is the new therapist on our team. So he's gonna explain a little bit about his role and what he does here, and we're so happy to have him with us today.
Thank you. Yeah, my main role is working with children ages 3 to probably around 13. And so the primary way that we do that work would be a majority of the kids we're seeing are kids who've had some exposure to sexual violence. So to work with that age group, we got to use different modalities to help them express how they're feeling, how they're doing. So we usually use play, art, music, so way of expressing those emotions, how they're feeling, what they've been through, and try it, because they don't always have the words or the language. So we can look at behavior, look at some of the underlying feelings and emotions, and then process that through the use of play and art. And so we play and work things through. So that's the primary age, is 3 to 13.
3 to 13.
3 to 13. And yeah.
And you joined our team a few weeks ago.
I feel like I've been here for a long time, and I'm taking over by leaving my stuff everywhere, but I just joined at the end of May, and so everyone's just been amazing. So, certainly a credit to all the staff for making me feel so welcome. Like, you always know it's a good place to be when, people just really appreciate you, and they treat you with respect, and it's definitely a place of respect. And so a huge thanks to everybody who's made me feel welcome and part of the family here.
Awesome. Well, that's really good to hear.
But if they take my mug, I don't want to talk about it.
I better put a label on the bottom.
This is Mark's.
Yeah. So again, we're happy to announce, we do have a play therapist or a child therapist in-house, so please give us a call and we can set that up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And bring your kids in to see Mark.
Yeah, it'll be awesome.
So this brings us to our topic today, and it's geared more towards parents, but I think it's applicable to everybody. So we're going to talk about video games and how they can be used as a talking or a kind of a connecting tool with your children.
Yes.
So, get into video games. Tell me some of your favorite games.
Oh, I could play a lot of video games. I think my favorite games are ones that are, more scary.
Okay.
Or games that are more, you have to be able to accomplish a task by going through stealth mode. You have to be able to go stealthily. You don't necessarily have any weapons, but you have to accomplish a task. So those kind of adventure games where you have to solve what's going on, and those are probably my favorite games. So it might be that you have to go through an an old building that's abandoned,
Right.
and you have to figure out what's going on, and things happen to you along the way. And I think what I like about those games is it allows me to turn off my brain from other things happening in my life, and I get immersed in the story. And I think I always love choose your own adventure books. And I find that video games like that are games that allow me to like, oh, okay, like I need to give some thought to what happens, and if I do this, this happens. And I love those games where I have to kind of have a story. There has to be a story.
Okay.
I don't like the games where I don't have to think. Like where I have to like each just mindless, so I want to be able to think.
Right. So like you're escaping into a different world.
So that
but still problem solving. Yeah.
So the strategy and problem solving occurs that way. Those are probably my favorite games.
So give me a few.
Oh, Dragons Inquisition, Red Dead Redemption is a great game.
Yes.
Really bad at Halo, but my kids like that. Thief, Darksiders, those are some of my favorite games.
My favorite arcade game is House of the Dead. I love that.
That's classic.
Yeah.
Those are in like arcades.
I know. That's one of my favorite games.
Did you play Galaga?
No.
Back in the day? I could still play it, but
No.
it's frustrating.
Other than that, like I'm really into Mario Kart.
It's not bad.
I love that, but it's not a problem-solving game. It's just
No, I can play it and I realize 4 hours have went by,
Yes.
but it's like story mode.
Yeah.
Story mode game.
Okay. Yeah, Red Dead Redemption is excellent.
It's so good. The worlds are huge, and there's a free reign to like you hop on that horse and you travel around the countryside and take all these missions, and to me I can get lost in it and I like that.
Awesome. So, going back to video games, why do you think there's such a draw to children and youths to play video games?
I think there's a couple reasons. One is if you look at the online component of video games, you can become part of a family. And so you think of games like Rainbow Six Siege or World of Warcraft, you get to be part of something.
Right.
And I think that's especially true if you don't have to be unhappy with your life. But let's say, for example, like a kid that maybe, and they don't always love how they do at school. They may feel like they have not a lot of power. They may feel like they get picked on by other kids. But you're somebody when you have a certain character. And you can create that character and you can be that person, and other people rely on you. When we go on a mission that we have to solve and we have to get through this Rainbow Six mission, other people rely on me, and I think people love the idea of doing it together, completing the task. And I think part of it is that there's a hierarchy involved, so you get to move up. So the more I put into it, the more I get out of it. So if I put in the effort, I'm now level 12.
Right.
And I think what they love is like, I want to be level 13, I want to move up.
It's kind of like an award system.
It's an award system, and I think that might scare some people,
Yeah.
but that's why people can get drawn into it, because the more time you put into it. I also think that it's, like I can get lost in a movie, like I can enjoy a movie, but the movie ends after 2 hours. The game does not end.
No.
And I think of like soap operas, like I make the mistake of my wife will watch Young and the Restless, and I look over and I'm like, why is Victor doing that? And then I'm stuck because I keep asking questions about Victor, and then all of a sudden I'm watching the show. And I think video games do the same thing, where it doesn't end. So I can stay immersed in that world, and I think that's why people sometimes can play a lot or get drawn to it, is that it's hard to stop it. Like it's just, you're really drawn into that world. And I think that helps people in some ways. That's why it's hard for them to turn it off.
Yeah, and there's so many options out there for games too.
There's a lot, and I think sometimes it allows you to just take a break and turn off your mind. And I think of even like phone games, it gives you that like 10 minutes. Not that I've ever played on my phone while I'm here, but let's say that I had. Then it allows you to take that moment. It's almost like recess. And it gives you a break to take and turn into something else. And nowadays they're so much more real. They're more vivid. They're based on actual things a lot of times. Like, some of the war games, they're based on actual. So I think the realistic part of it makes it really intriguing. You get to be in the movie. You get to be in your favorite story. Yeah,
and for me, like those phone games or stuff on iPads, I find it very like soothing, especially for someone who has anxiety. It's very
It does. It turns it off. Turns it off.
Yeah, even for 10 minutes. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, this brings us to our kind of main topic. So, I'm a parent. How can I use my child's love of video games to connect with them and talk with them?
It's interesting because I always think that parents get really worried when their kids are playing games and they're like, oh, it's violent or it's this, but they don't know the game. They may see aspects of it, but how can you use that as a talking point? So here's an example. Let's say that there's a hard level. It's difficult. And they see that their kid is struggling with it.
Okay.
Right? So you think about, okay, if the setting is hard and we have a boss we have to get through or a difficult character to defeat, what skills does it take to beat that? So if you say your kid may not be able to tell you how do you get through math, that you don't understand math or you feel stupid, or how do you process how you felt when, you had something happen to you inappropriately sexually. They don't know how to talk about it, but they could talk about the difficulties it takes to get through a level.
Right.
They could talk about the skill set you need to, okay, every time you fail, what did you do? Did you retry the game? Did you have to go back? Oh, I needed to upgrade my guy. I needed new weapons. Oh, okay, so you needed more skills. Okay, I needed more training. I needed to practice. I needed to figure out on the internet how to get through the level. So you think of the skill they take to get through a hard level. And what if they say, well, what if you can't get through it? Well, I keep trying. Oh, really?
Okay.
So you tried it again. What did it felt like when you got through the hard one? Oh, it felt great. It was so hard. So I'm like, oh, what if you played the game on easy mode? Well, it wouldn't be as fun. I just get through it. So you use that, or let's say you use a hierarchy system. If you talk about what does it feel like to move up to level 12? But maybe at school they're level 1. So then you can look at, you can use the analogies of how they did that, and now they can talk about it without having to actually talk about it. So I think that's, or let's say it's a game of choice. If you are allowed to make decisions in a game, well, it's hard to do. So it's like, okay, if I make this decision to rob a store in the game, that what that does is now the other characters interact with me differently. They might not be able to talk to you how interactions with people in their own life have changed, but they can talk about the characters.
Right.
So when you watch your kids play video games, instead of getting upset at, oh, I can't believe you made the bad decision, you were Darth Vader and you killed everybody, what's the thought process that went through why? Was it a hard decision? Did that decision have consequences? Yeah, like when I did this, I found out that the enemies got harder. So you're able to talk about what the choices you made or how choices affect you. Whereas like a 7-year-old can talk about choices that affected them in the game,
right,
without necessarily talking about how their choices affected them in life. And so it allows you to process those feelings, and you can connect with your kids, because instead of being scared or worried, like think of the needs that get met when a kid designs a really elaborate character. Oh, he's got wings and he's got this power and he's amazing. Like, oh, what happens if he didn't have that anymore? Oh, what would you do? And then you get these kids get really passionate about how they created it, and then you can kind of use that as a point to say, like, what was important to them? Like, what does strength mean? And they can design these characters. So instead of looking like, oh, I can't believe my son or daughter did this in the game, be like, what was their process of why they did it? Or how did they feel? Like, okay, you had to make these tough decisions that maybe seemed bad, but how did you deal with that? Oh, it was okay because, and it allows a talking point that you can explore with kids about how they feel or how they did things. So I see it as a very effective tool. So if you just sit there with them as they're making choices and decisions, talk to them about it. Well, what are you going to do? Oh, that looks really hard. And then when they quit the game and they get mad and they turn it off, they can go back and turn it back on. But they come in with what? When are you ready to turn that game back on? What needs to change in order for you to be ready for that level?
Okay.
I need a break. I need to calm down. I'm so upset. Oh, okay. So you just use it as analogies, and I find it can be very effective. Because the kid might not talk to you about other things, but they'll always talk about their games.
Always.
And they also think that's what they feel good about. The other thing you use to help kids is they can teach you. I think especially kids with trauma, they want to have some level of power, they want to have some level of control. Give it to them. They can teach you about how to get through this game. Teach me how you built in Minecraft. Teach me how you got through that level. Then they feel empowered. They feel important. They feel like they have those skills. And then they're more receptive to being taught something as well, because they feel like the power level is equal, right? Because they have something they're good at. So rather than, and that's more important than worrying about, oh, is it a violent game or not? Like, think of the ability you could have to have that with them and get them to teach you how to do it. How do I get through it? Because a lot of adults don't always know how some of these games work.
Yeah.
But kids do, so use that to your advantage.